a STEM night, so they've got the STEM hub over there.
It's crowded.
Yeah. It's a popular thing.
Yeah, I'm only 4
Hopefully we're on fire now.
I just. I could get it.
I got it.
I'm selling at the middle school line. I have a charger, but I knocks like always on.
Is that Susan's report?
Like, I met so many people registering them.
What's that?
Last year.
No, I think Susan has her.
And I'm at high school, and that's.
That's what.
Well, and so just getting the siblings and the parents, and I'm like, oh, their first year was last year, so they're.
Do you just want to read
And they're very cute, they're too big.
What?
I mean, you love.
Yeah, I hear extra day.
And all that.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. Don't worry.
But we got it done.
Good.
The tires are right.
Well, I guess we'll
Okay,
wait till.
thanks much.
You were successful. Oh, yeah.
That was me being a little tired.
So
So I was, thank you so much, guys, really. So I with me and my chatter.
Yes.
My overcaffeinated chitter chatter brain.
I mean, some
I probably did.
like,
It is fine.
Oh, no, it's not.
and then, you know, so I kind of made it all the way around.
we left on the
Do I have one straw?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for.
That's a good
I
thing.
don't know. Maybe that's how we just like.
Oh, Jennifer's gonna take that.
Well, we're gonna have short.
Yeah, it's not like-
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Did they tell you this is good?
Hi, Mark.
Yes.
Mark, good.
Yeah, sort of summary evaluation thing.
Hang in there.
Printed out.
Yep.
I had to wait for somebody else to show up. I was down there. I just started out, and the person Mary showed up, and I was like, good, we can go now.
I couldn't get out, I had to stay.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can leave, but not always.
Well, although my
Well,
It's so close, I can walk over there.
Diane.
yeah, you couldn't just walk across the street. But yeah, I was at home with Cindy, and, she said, where are you gonna go? I said, is it okay if I go? She said, yeah. Well, she's been going through chemo, so.
Yeah, I mean, well.
That's something they told me that
I mean, my
since,
different.
so if you're a salaried person, you should get an extra day of pay this year. The 29th is an extra day.
No, really, ours works, it's just in clusters of 10 days. So I'm not making more or less money, it'll just be the next 10. But in each week, they did work an extra day.
Labor Day, day to work, why is Labor Day? Okay, I was gonna say, are we ready or we're waiting?
Yeah, I think the show is still on.
You're looking good. My face is probably really red. I'm tired, flush. I maybe hypocaffeinated myself a minute
Hey,
ago.
Brett.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Have you, well, waiting on technology.
I forget about that part.
Yeah.
Anybody live high enough elevation that they saw snow this morning?
Me?
Red Hill.
I live in town and it was snowing at my house. Did you
Well, it was
guys?
snowing at our house.
Yeah.
Nothing was sticking.
No.
Yeah, we're watching weather for tomorrow. That's
It
what
was snowing in Alcyon right now.
Took their truck into
Oh, yeah,
service this
it
morning
was.
and the
My mom texted me.
owner, Nick, was saying that, you know, just sort of basic awesome amounts, so it's the smallest one that ever.
Yeah.
I heard of the LC, through LC, there's a couple of issues like that.
Similar tonight, supposedly tonight, tomorrow morning.
Kansas school,
No, I won't be sticking down here, but same thing, it'll be like in the high 30s and the upper elevations will be steady. So not have to do anything for school other than rain. You never know, sometimes snow routes happen.
That's why they have it.
Okay, just worry about it.
We're ready?
Don't worry about it.
Okay. And first business is the pledge. Ryan, you want to do this?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Ryan. Okay. Consent agenda, I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented in our packet.
Is there a second? Is there discussion?
Any issues with the cheerleading request for the overnight?
I had a couple questions about that, but I was gonna wait till we see if we got anything else.
In the minutes, my name was misspelled.
Oh, no.
I know.
No.
I'm a herring, not a hearing.
I'm a
Just
judge.
saying.
I'm a judge and not a grudge, so I fully understand.
If anybody catches anything like that, if you could let me know ahead of time, then I could fix it and then re-upload it.
Well,
Sorry, I didn't
I
catch
just
it.
noticed it, I just noticed it today, so.
Okay.
Otherwise I would have if I'd noticed it sooner.
Well then, do you need a fresh motion to approve with that modification, or are we okay?
No, we'll just approve it with that modification. So, want to talk about the overnight for the cheerleaders.
Yes.
Is it normal to go this far in advance?
Typically, no. I have found out that the cheer group is a group that doesn't have to be invited to a national competition. They can sign themselves up
Okay.
for a national competition. And the encouragement to sign up this early came from former high athletic director Mike Hood, to be able to get the trip approved, pending the ability to raise
Do they have
money.
to fund, I was gonna say, do they have to fundraise?
And so the reason that they wanted to get it approved in the cycle early was so they could fundraise.
Okay.
Jennifer and I had conversations about fundraising, just making sure that we weren't setting ourselves up to be able to say, We've got people that donate for scoreboards and this and this and this. And is the cheer trip gonna ask them to be able to contribute more when we lose in another arena? And we said it's not, we don't feel like it's gonna be that great a pull, with this particular project. We also know that we have the turf project out there right now.
Yeah.
And so, after that conversation, we decided to go ahead and put it out there and see if we could get the approval or if the board had additional questions.
Okay. I know Kat Fuller, she's the lead.
Yeah,
Who's the other three? Shannon Rice,
She's the
Corinne Webster, and Heather Parrish.
two of them are assistants and one of them is a parent.
Okay.
And they also know that if they have, any male athletes on their squad, by the time they get to that, they need to have a male, chaperone to be able to attend with.
And then they have to do the overnight chaperone training.
Yeah,
and all
yeah,
that.
all that stuff.
Okay. No, it's not happening until next January, that's why I kind of was curious, but yeah, it makes sense for the fundraising part of it, so.
Yeah.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded, we've had discussion, is there any more discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Request for agenda modifications.
I have one.
Okay.
On, E4, the inclement weather makeup days and the instructional minutes page, there's really two purposes to that. One is to be able to talk about and make a decision about, if we're ready, on our inclement weather makeup days. The other purpose is to reaffirm our calculations of instructional minutes, just to make sure everybody knows how those are calculated. Because I think the decision was made when we started early release days, however many years ago, that the reason for putting that in the packet was really more about making sure people know how we have to count instructional minutes for the state and how we've gotten them reviewed. So those are, they're two distinct pieces.
Okay.
And then I also have requested that we discuss our student board representative, and it's not on the agenda, so we could just add that on. And I have a proposal for that as well, but I think that would go, under E is either 9, or if instructional minutes is an additional number, then that would make it 10.
Do we want to work?
Under E,
E?
yeah, discussion and action items.
Do we have to take action on that tonight?
Possibly.
Okay.
I have a proposal.
Okay, no, that's why I was asking, otherwise it just go up under discussion. We'll put that under E number 9. Okay. Anything else? Alright. There's the first page, done with that. Student government report, Reagan.
Okay, so a lot's been happening with sports. Cheer placed third in the state. Wrestling sent 9 to state, and Riley Barrett actually won state title in his weight class. Basketball playoffs are this weekend, and state's the following weekend. I believe both teams are probably gonna go to both of those. And they're unified basketball plays third in their rating of 6 teams. Which is exciting, and the polar plunge was 2 weeks ago, and we raised $4,200.
Oh,
And half of it goes to Unified for next year.
That's great.
That's fantastic, thank you.
Swimming also sent some people to state, I don't know the details about that, but I think we had a freshman place third in state, so that was good.
That's great.
Yesterday was the all-district band concert, so 5th grade through 12th grade all got together and performed a concert. And the jazz band plays third in league today.
Wow, that's awesome.
Very good.
Matilda opens next week,
Oh,
Thursday through Saturday, so that's middle school and high school.
Thursday through Saturday.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's all I have for now.
All right, thank you very much.
If I can add something as student government advisor, through some generous donations from the Booster Club and some parents, we've covered the admissions for all PHS students for both playoff games this weekend. So they'll all come for free, because they would normally have to pay $6 to come here. So we're trying to fill the gym this weekend, and Michael got a little busy on that, and the Booster Club kicked in, and we got everything covered.
Awesome, that's great.
That's good. Thank you.
That's great.
Is there any public comment?
No.
Okay. Association report, PEA. Abe.
And back to written notes.
You're welcome.
Happy, what's it, Education Week, month? Yeah. Public school. Awesome. Yeah. We're all part of that. Good evening. I would like to use my time tonight to heap praise on a group of our district employees that is deserving of recognition. Columbus School District special education classroom teachers and instructional aides have been managing an extraordinary level of demand over the past couple of years. The acute and chronic needs of many of the students in the special ed arena have been extreme, time-consuming, emotionally draining, and at times physically dangerous. Increases in enrollment in the district have translated to special education as increased caseloads considerably over enrollment projection. Our case managers have, in several cases, caseloads at least 30% higher than their counterparts in surrounding districts. Despite all of these challenges, these individuals do stellar work week in, week out, serving their students, managing mountains of paperwork, and shepherding parents through the special services process. My tenure as PEA president has given me opportunities to see firsthand the challenges these workers are facing every day. I'm in awe of their universal commitment to the well-being and success of their students. They are indeed special educators, and they need our help. PEA would like to encourage the board to emphasize expansion of licensed staff to the district's special ed classes as a budget priority. The addition of a person or persons who can take on some of the paperwork and record-keeping items that are overflowing our teachers' work weeks will go a long way towards keeping those valuable employees healthy and safe and free to work directly with the students who need their help to meet their needs and ensure their success.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
OCA. CA, Kings Valley Charter School Annual Report.
Welcome. Thank you, thank you. You guys must have an event, had to circle the wagon several times out here to find a parking spot.
STEM.
STEM, of course, it's STEM, yes.
Down by the Tiffany Elementary School.
Right, right. Well, thanks for having us tonight. You guys had the opportunity to have our board report in your packets for a little bit. Is there any questions, anything that you'd like to talk about after reviewing it?
I'm gonna make myself vulnerable and admit a point of ignorance that came up as I was reading through it. Does PSKD pay bills, staff, etc. for your charter school? Because in the report, it mentioned a lot of money had been paid to people supporting Kings Valley. So I wasn't sure if that's like for administration and financial reasons or.
Sure, we can explain that a little bit.
Thank you.
You want to?
I can. So as a contractor, they're paying, the majority of what they spend is on the salaries or the payroll, basically, is most of it. You know, as an independent contractor, they pay for training and some of their supplies. ACS is paying for me and the things that students might use, like curriculum, classroom supplies that their kids would use are paid by Kings Valley Charter School rather than PSD.
Okay.
There's a split between sometimes the tools that the vendor is supposed to provide most of their own tools, but sometimes we buy computers and too. So there's a little bit of mix there. But they have their own insurance, they have their own retirement plans, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so it's basically, we purchase services, education, staffing from PSD, because the same thing about. And they provide the staff from, not just educational, they provide custodians, they provide kitchen staff, so they provide all of our employment.
Okay, that makes sense. That was my confusion. So the school itself is not the employer of a lot of the staff, some of it, but a lot of it.
We have one employee. Kings Valley Charter School has one employee currently, and that is per our charter to have one executive style or business manager style person. A minimum of that.
Thank you, that very much clarified that.
Sure.
It may have been information that almost had landed before, but apparently hadn't.
Sure.
And then I had one, not really a question, but a concern, and come up last year as well, which is in your audit that you have a substantial amount of money in a single banking situation where over $380,000 is uninsured because there's so much money in the account that it's over the $250,000 FDIC insurance. I raised that last year, I'm just gonna raise it again.
Sure.
That worries me a lot.
Sure, I'll answer that partly, and Mark can give the second part of that. We're still building our building, and so we have a large amount of money waiting to finish that construction, which has been airtight to finish that construction.
Yes.
So that's part of the over.
I wasn't worried about how much money was existing, but just that it's
Yes.
all sitting in one account where it's not insured.
And then the second piece,
We exited, we burned down a lot of that cash, so we needed all that cash for the building and also to exit from LC in terms of, we had to purchase of buses. So we spent, I don't know what we spent,
$227,000
to basically bought down the leases, right? So we come back with, as we put the buses up to Fall City, we have a lower payment, basically. So we're paying off loans, old leases, and LC. It's the same buses, it's a lease company, we pay the lease company. So we should burn down cash, so my projection at the end of this year, if we finish the building, if we can keep going building. The building is, it's the contractor does good work, but it's pretty slow. And it's quite late, almost a year and a half late now, and, but we haven't, there's progress payments, and they don't progress, we haven't paid it, so we haven't finished, so. And they're just putting the sheet rock in today, so we're getting close, and we should be able to finish it. But I'm estimating we'll end at 257K roughly. My budget's higher, plus or minus 10K. We should be right in the range. We did set up, I'll do all the paperwork, set up an account, and then, we burn it down, burn down cash, we didn't transfer any money. And we have burned most of it down, but we're still running, I don't know, 300K probably on our account today.
So that's a legitimate question. And then as a side note, you did hear that this is federal funds and that the citizens.
Yeah, so it was I asked Citizens Bank, are we insured? Citizens Bank said, yes, you're insured. I showed that I did that email to our auditor, and they said, well, no, you're not. And so, there was no really, and our accountants too said, we should be, and,
Like the bank has a separate insurance
Given the
agreement that the FDIC
funds.
does?
Yeah.
Okay.
and the name in our account actually says, public funds in it. So the bank is treating it as public funds, but the auditor won't accept the bank. And so they bring us again on but we're still burning down. I don't know what to do with the auditor. Our accountants don't want to do it, so they disagree actually. So if we get audited by the company that does our books, When they do audits, they would pass this stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Technical, which,
Yeah, those were my only questions from them.
And my other question I talked about with you is federal money, has the time lapse hit on the federal funds? In terms of deadline for expenditure, or are things still good with the federal funds?
if they're not really federal funds, you know, it's state public
State funds,
funds.
yeah, must have been state, yeah.
It's an interesting argument in terms of if they weren't public funds, we would be held to the same restrictions to what we could do with it, right? We could invest in the stock market or something, but you know, we are treating them like state public funds ourselves and following those rules, because no one's been off to try to test it. So I don't know where our auditor gets that, we're not ready now to go with our auditor on that.
Anybody else have any questions?
It's been a good year, you know, for just the support, and then, we say that, I think the relationship's very positive with my staff, we've certainly had a lot of help. I think the special education school, we got finance facility, but, you know, generally, our relationship is very supportive, and we're grateful to Susan and the staff, and everybody that helps us.
Thank you for having us out. I really enjoyed getting to tour the facility and see a little fish row hatch. That was pretty cool.
Yes, you were there.
I was really excited.
Yes. The salmon hatch.
Yeah, it was really exciting. That makes 2 times I've seen a creature hatch from an egg in an office in this school district, so.
Right, yeah. No, it's our pleasure, it is our pleasure, and once, the construction is finished, I'd like to, yes.
We'll throw a party for you.
Yes, we're super excited for the whole school and the opportunity it brings. Yeah, to celebrate agriculture, absolutely. Well, if you guys find anything else you'd like for Mark and I to answer at any point in time, please feel free to email us or just give us the opportunity to answer the questions for you. Absolutely.
Thank you for coming in.
Yeah,
Appreciate
yeah.
it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for getting in your steps to be able to get here.
Have a safe trip back home.
No, I literally had to make a couple laps before I was able to squeeze in and cross the
You should
street.
see it when it's winter concerts and winter
Yes.
plays.
Yes,
Drive safely.
yeah. It was actually snowing on my way in, so.
Oh,
was
that
it?
is stop.
Yeah, we're watching that in the morning.
Yes, absolutely.
There was some on the way in?
Yeah, right at JRJ.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, I have to watch that on the way home.
Yes.
Because it was clear when I came in.
No, definitely.
All right, see ya later.
Thank
All right, superintendent's report.
Yeah, and I apologize, I sent it to you this afternoon, and I just needed to find copies of it this evening. And wanted to put out a couple of different elements of school appreciation. Excuse me. February 5th through 9th was our National School Counseling Week, and we did put information out on our district website and social media, but it's always nice to be able to put it forward in this arena as an opportunity to recognize our school counselors. And the other is this week as National Public Schools Week, that I just kind of happened on. And so it's just nice to be able to encourage and support in that way. The other that happens next week has to do with our classified employee appreciation week. So want to read, our proclamation there. It says, whereas the education of youth is essential to the future of our community, state, country, and world, and whereas classified employees are the backbone of our public education system, and whereas classified employees work directly with students, educators, parents, volunteers, business partners, and community members, and whereas classified employees support the smooth operations of offices, the safety and maintenance of buildings and property, and the safe transportation, healthy nutrition, and direct instruction of students. And whereas our community depends upon and trusts classified employees to serve students. And whereas classified employees with their diverse talents and true dedication nurture students throughout their school years. Now therefore be it resolved that the Paloma School District Board of Directors proclaims March 4th through 8th, 2024 to be Classified Employee Appreciation Week. Be it further resolved that the Paloma School District Board of Directors strongly encourages all members of our community to join in this observance, recognizing the dedication and hard work of these individuals. So it's always nice to be able to have different pockets of our groups represented and recognized. I also wanted to do a shout out to a group of people for a very specific purpose. If you remember in our last, as a product of our last negotiation session with our licensed staff with PPA, there was an agreement to put together a joint co-curricular salary schedule group to be able to take a look at and investigate what may not have been looked at for a long time. Who gets what stipend, who gets how many days, what are we paying for, what are we not paying for, are there differences, are there things that aren't represented? And so you can see that the charge of the group was kind of Herculean. And so we asked them to get as far as they could and to be able to come back to us with recommendations. Excuse me. That we would then follow up with any information that we could reach agreement on to be able to look at implementing most likely into the next school year. And what of those things do we need to go back and charge either same group or different group to do to be able to continue the work. So the memorandum of agreement said prior to which was March 1st, the committee was to bring forward recommendations to PEA and to myself. And that has been done. So like I said, while not all the tasks could be entirely addressed, we've got recommendations under review right now and looking at some of the items that we can go ahead and agree to through memorandums of agreement. So the work of that group consisted of 3 district personnel and 3 school personnel, and 3 administrators and 3 school personnel. And I stayed out of the mix, and the union leadership stayed out of the mix. And I have to say that their recommendations were quite thoughtful. The work that they did was very in-depth in terms of surveying, just a real, no hidden agenda in the game or anything else like that. It was a really straightforward, very thoughtful series of recommendations. So applaud the work of this group as we continue to move forward with making some decisions. The next piece of news comes with kind of the sunsetting of the legacy. Yeah, that's the question.
Sorry, before we go into the sad thing, sad to me.
Yeah.
So you're taking these recommendations, the district, and moving forward with them. Do we have a timeline
We
for?
don't have a timeline right now for acting on that. We met, I met with our group of administrators Tuesday of this week, and we landed on, I think, 3 of them that we figured could be actionable pretty quick.
Okay.
To be able to make decisions on. And then the other pieces, it's kind of like how do we divide and conquer and what do we set up. So we can think of at least 3 that we came to some agreement on as a group with administrators that we said, yeah, we can look to move forward and make some decisions on it.
Okay, and then moving into planning.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Clemens Foundation Scholarship, and this was a letter that I had received from the Clemens Foundation. So, the Clemens Foundation for more than 60 years has been awarding tuition grants for higher education. And the letter said that the foundation has been struggling to keep up with what they call the growing demand for the tuition grants along with ever-increasing college tuition costs in the United States. So the board of the Clemens Foundation decided to discontinue the tuition grant program for four-year colleges and universities in 2025, but continue grants for trade schools and community colleges. So as a result of this, our graduating class of 2025, so next year's graduates, will be the last group of seniors eligible to apply for the four-year college or university grants. Community college and trade school opportunities will continue beyond that. They've also made it very clear that anyone who has currently or will be awarded between now and then a four-year university scholarship will continue to receive it for the complete 4 years. So nobody is going to get money taken away if, once at the 225 deadline, they're not going to cut everybody off. It's a little disheartening after such a long history, but also, taking a look at the foundation and, where they've come, what their priorities are, and where they want to be. This has been their board's determination about how they want to move forward. So I felt like I needed to make sure that everybody was made aware of that as we continue to move forward.
I'm sorry.
One thing that comes to mind is that past graduates have always had the opportunity to apply in the future, and I was wondering how this affects, graduates, say they graduated in 2020, to apply for that scholarship.
I don't know that for sure, but it sounds like from their letter that they have set a June 30th, 2025 application deadline.
Okay.
So if that's been their practice and somebody that graduated in 2020 applies before that June 30th, 2025 deadline, they could be considered.
I know that the restrictions for who qualifies have kind of tightened over the years as well.
Oh, yeah.
But I personally would just like to thank the foundation for helping to educate. We're looking at 60 years, 2 to 3 generations of Paloma kids,
Well, not full.
depending on how you break down generations.
Well,
Yes, and outside of
We have
Paloma.
Crane Alcee, Edgefield,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been just a gift to so many people, and it is sad to see it. It's not ending, shrink down another level, just say.
Yeah.
But I'm happy that they're still going to continue funding for trade school and community colleges, so they're so important.
Yeah, well, the thing that's interesting to me is you take a couple that had a vision and look at where it went.
Yeah. Look at the woman in New York who just made the Albert Einstein School of Medicine tuition-free forever. Because she was a professor there and her husband was a stockbroker or something like that. She was donated $1 billion. $1 billion. So we just need somebody to do that.
There you go.
We've got plenty of billionaires, right? But, just the importance of education and seeing people who are so generous with their finances that way is very inspiring.
Absolutely.
So maybe we all start little scholarship funds.
I agree with that. The Clemens family has gifted this community immensely. And Rex and Ethel didn't have children. I mean, it started with them and it's gone on. My kids both got through college with Clemens scholarships. What a gift.
Has
What
the
a
Paloma
gift.
School District ever done any field trips to Rex's house over in the Stevens Mountains or anything? We just stumbled across, driving to Stevens, there's Rex's house there, and
Not that I'm aware of.
I was driving around the Steens and like stopped and looked at this interpretive sign and it was like talking about fulfillment and I was like, what? It was very confusing and then I was like, oh, this, like, I knew they had some operations out there somewhere and then I found it. I was like, okay.
And a little side note, sorry, somehow the Real Brothers of Basketball is connected to Clinton. Somehow the lady working this summer was a relative of the Real Brothers living in Corvallis, and she was the host for the Clinton's property over the Steens. So there somehow was a connection between the Real Brothers and the Clemens before we bought that property. But it's just kind of crazy to go.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
No, that's, I mean, they have been, Rex and Ethel and the foundation itself have just been huge, within this community. So it's worth taking the time to be able to acknowledge, absolutely. We go on to uglier stuff in terms of the Oregon statewide assessment season. We will be training our Florida School District staff for test administration tomorrow. I put in there a list of all the available tests that students, that are available and out there for students. And we've sent notice to all families regarding testing for the spring. We always know that the state asks for us to try and hit a 95% participation rate. The counter to that is there's a caveat in place that allows parents to opt students out of testing. And so here we are at a 95%, we want you to get there, but we've got an arena for you to opt out. And so every year I have to put forward, what are we going to do to try and encourage higher participation rates?
Have we hit 95% since the parents have started opting out?
We haven't in the last, well, since COVID, we haven't come back to hit that. Well, I take that back. Since the requirements for using the tests as a condition of graduation, we've seen a whole lot more high school students and families opting out. And it's for a myriad of reasons, I'm sure. But that's what we see. So we do the best we can. The information I put out to families said that the results of the assessment data give us some programmatic information. So it's not as much about what we see at an end run about individual kids. It's about what can it tell us programmatically. And that's in the hope that we'll get more to participate. But I also know there's that other caveat that we just have to work the dance with. And that's okay. So that will be kicking off soon. I wanted to let this group know that our Valley Coast Superintendents Association, VISA, will be meeting in Florida for their March meeting on March 15th. And so we will have that group here with us to be able to host them and have them here for us for a morning. And then I've just got dates to remember coming up. In there with just all the, you know, there, and this doesn't even include spring sports. So it's all about the futures of basketball. Other seasons have kind of finished up. The play, dance and drill, you know, just a lot of things going on all the way across. So that's my report. Any questions, comments?
What's BES?
Boys basketball.
With basketball?
What basketball?
GDX is girls basketball.
Oh, I couldn't remember what the X was.
I'm not.
Sorry, it's a little, it's a little,
It's old, it's been there forever, I don't know why the X is.
I don't either, but it's a little.
I was thinking
All right. Moving on, financial report. Jennifer.
Once again, the reports are in the board packet, so if you have any questions specific to them, I'll be happy to answer. Some highlights, our enrollment is still staying high, where any of our surrounding districts and across the state, we've went to the budget symposium, I've been to a few other local meetings, and almost every district I talk to is in declining enrollment, so we're doing something right here. People want to come to us, so we have a discussion about enrollment and inter-district transfers coming up later in the meeting, but I guess we're doing something right. It's a double-edged sword. We get more students, we get more funding, but we need more staff to help with that, and I know that all of our staff feel the pinch of those additional bodies in the rooms. And a lot of them are coming with some extra needs that we have to support, so we have added some classified this year. And you'll see in their packet 2 resolutions to approve for some increased revenue because of the increased enrollment and some grant funds. So the state school fund estimate came back, they finally released the estimates for everybody's enrollment prediction, or enrollment estimates if they updated them mid-year. And so with our increased enrollment and the amount across the state, we did get an increase. So between that and some other general fund funding, we're about up to where we thought we needed to be whole for this year. We've used that already to add the classified support in most of the classrooms. We brought back quite a bit of the staff that we didn't keep. We thought we were gonna have to rid for last year. We still are missing a few FTE from that, but hoping to hold steady for the rest of the year. You'll also see in there that we are planning to put some of that additional revenue away in reserves. We wanted to start those pockets now that we have a little bit to set aside. I talked to the auditors on how to set up those reserve accounts specifically, and they guided me on how to set them up. So when you see the budget documents for next year, you'll see them in a separate fund. We can track them that way. So hopefully it's a good start and we can keep going just to make sure we have money set aside to replace a driver's ed vehicle if and when it breaks down, and technology, if the server goes down, have something set aside for that. And a little bit in facilities maintenance. God forbid something happens. And then the other resolution is for some grant funding. We are receiving the early literacy grant that Susan talked about at the last board meeting. That one is about $94,000. And then we had an additional increase for the allocation for our student investment account. So we had to allocate that also because it wasn't originally in the budget allocations appropriations. So that's what these resolutions will do, more appropriations. And those 2 will also go to instructional support, a little bit of support services, moving some things around. So, have a question?
Those are all within the, what is it, 10%?
Yes.
You're allowed, that we don't have to come back together and.
No, we don't.
There are some meetings.
I did the calculations. The general fund percentage is well below the 10% amount. The special revenue fund was around 9% of our special revenue fund. So we are below the 10%, which means we don't have to have an official budget hearing. It can be done as an approval in a regular board meeting.
Okay.
Yep.
That's a real simple question. There's the very last step in the report, there's a few people in payroll, and I'm just curious. They're not, like, the teachers aren't listed in payroll. I'm just curious what the differences are, what are the teacher salaries? I just see the sub payroll, but it's not complete.
On the check listing?
Yeah.
So those are only, the check listings are only the people that get paper checks. The rest of the payroll is direct deposit, and it doesn't show up on that check listing. It does,
Okay.
yeah, it shows up as a bulk sum.
Okay, so the whole payroll represented through there, this is just people actually take a check?
Yeah, yep, just like all of our bills that get paid by check, and, yeah.
I noticed in there was a lot of checks written to different school districts. What is that too?
There are usually entry fees for sports events, tournament entry fees, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we do a lot of that for wrestling and swimming and track meets.
Okay.
We like to share well.
Well, they were, I think one was Monroe and then Sweet Home and, I mean, they
They're all
were.
like $100 or just.
Yeah, and it's just like,
Why
what
do
is
you
this?
transfer money? Yeah, it's all for sporting events for the most part.
Do we collect entry fees too then from other schools?
Yep, if they come here, we have one invitational for wrestling. I think there's a few other events, probably some track meets that they come to, but
Dance team.
yeah. those monies get taken in at the high school for those events. So they show on the ASB fund, the PHS student activities account. That's where those funds are. Don't really have anything else. We have our budget work session next week, so we'll have some discussion about our visions and goals for next year and how this year is working so far.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Another good report as usual. Moving on to strategy and discussion, English learner state report.
Yeah, we added in your packet, the English Learners Report in Oregon for 21-22. We are in the process right now of what's called a desk audit for our English learner program. And that desk audit asks for a series of different pieces of information where nobody's going to come on site and look at us programmatically, but they're looking at paper trail and all kinds of things like that. So are we doing eligibility right? Are we following up on students? Are we serving them appropriately? Do we have instructional materials that are appropriate? All those kinds of things. One of, and by the way, we've got, for our district, we have 16 current English learner students who are involved in a program of sorts, so they are receiving service. Michelle, I think you told me 44 today that were on the list, and I believe that 44 represents any student who was ever an English learner. And so it's those students who are no longer receiving service specific because they've exited, but we're asked to keep track of who are those students who were ever English learners. So part of the desk audit also asks that we put, or that we bring to the attention of the board the annual report for Oregon English learners and note that in our minutes that we have brought that forward for people to be able to see and look at. And as we get through the desk audit, we will bring back specific information about us to be able to share. So this is a compliance component that will be followed more with what's happening for our students.
Do we need a motion then?
This needs to be noted, so we're good.
Okay.
Duly noted.
Well, that's right, it's
Are
fine.
all of
It's a
our ELL,
discussion.
current ELL students, original language, I'm probably saying the wrong term, I don't want to be offensive. Are they all of the same language, or do they have multiple languages?
We've got, last I checked in reporting, we've got 10 languages that are represented by families and students in the district.
So 10 languages for the 16 to 44.
The 16 students, most of them are Hispanic, and we have a couple of, where did they come from? Syria, thank you. So we've got some students that we now have a new language to, I mean, that's one of the 10, to be able to work with and translate for and things like that. And we've heard that there will be potentially more Syrian families that we'll see coming in as well.
That makes sense. Does that, just from a point of curiosity for me, obviously it's gonna add a layer of complexity. Is it an exponential expansion of complexity, or is it, there's a strategy in how you teach a second language, which I know, and we follow the same strategy, and it's a matter of having materials that are appropriate?
Right, and the different languages, the struggle that we've had with our Syrian students is our younger students are grabbing a hold of things more quickly, which is typical. But we've got a middle school, high school age student that has struggled. And so it's translation for that student, but it's also translation for the family. And so we're looking for somebody who can do more than just translate paper. And so part of that is what can we do to be able to partner with like a neighbor district that has multiple language represented so that we can see what kind of support we might be able to find there. But you're right in terms of strategy. at the elementary level, with the way an elementary school is set up and a student sees a teacher for the whole day. We put each of those students with a teacher who has an English as a second language endorsement added to their teaching license. And so those are individuals who understand the strategies and the importance and have that skill set to be able to support students whether they know that second language or not, but they know the strategy. And so that has been helpful to us, and we're fortunate to be able to have at least one person at every grade level, if not more, that can address that need. So we just have to watch. If we continue to get more languages, so if we start to see an influx of the Russian population from north of us, does that change the rules yet again? So it's just watching.
Thank you.
Good question.
Okay. Moving on, we'll go to discussion action items, approval of the 24-25 school year calendar.
You have got in your packet what is being proposed by the committee for the 24-25 school year. We've kind of tried to maneuver out of some of our half days for conferences and things like that because they were counted very new. A couple of things that we did is we took the August in-service dates and decided to put them on the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so that people could have the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday as a longer weekend before we start with students. The other thing that we talked about is typically on that first day of school on September 3rd, students are done by noontime. They're white. And so we talked about, do we set that up as a half day across the district, and then be able to start with everybody on the 4th to be able to move things forward in that way. So when we counted days and how that came together, the licensed contract or collective bargaining agreement says that the staff will have 190 days, which means 184 work days and 6 holidays. And we'll have a series of staff days to be able to work through. And so right now, if we looked at all the staff days we've got out there, we say it's 11 and a half. It should be 11, but we said 11 and a half. But the half is really 2.5 hours because we're using it as an early release, so it's not a half. But so really what we're doing is we're giving an additional 2.5 hours above what the current contract says we need to provide. And it's hard when we've got families who want students home or at school on the same days, and we're trying to figure out a conference schedule and something that works on a trimester as well as a quarter and semester system. So, you know, we've got some things that we can do to work on that, but this was our way of being able to put something together that reflected where we felt like we needed to be. Our spring break, our winter break matches our neighbors. And then of course after June 12th is formally the last day of school for students. The 3 makeup days in there really are, if we don't have to make those up, they will be pushed back. And the teacher's last day would be possibly June 13th, or, I mean, it's kind of like, if we don't have to make up those days, then a teacher last day moves back in. But we wanted to be able to bring through with staff that if we have inclement weather days to make up, we want to make those visible in the calendar. So that we don't have people saying, well, great, the last day for students is the 12th. My last day will automatically be the 13th, and I can plan to go on my vacation on June 14th. So we wanted to make it real clear to say, be thoughtful in the plan. So that was what our group came up with and agreed to move forward for, and recommend for the 24-25 school year.
I have a question, Susan.
Yeah.
Because at Corvallis, we had full days and we got, on Fridays, we got out of school about the same amount of time as Florida. So how, like, at the end of the school year, end about the same time? So do they get more education hours, or how does that work? Because Corvallis School, at least it was, solid 5 days. And Florida, I think Florida used to just be a 4-day week. Did they always just have these on Fridays?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't
It used to be
know.
Wednesdays for a while.
Yeah, Fridays for a while, and then
Corvallis
Fridays.
does it on Wednesdays right now, but then some schools rotate which day the early release is.
And then my question was, do school districts have the same, does Corvallis follow the same required hours?
We have the same required hours, and that's something that I'm gonna share in here when we get to, E4, about how we come up with our instructional minutes and how we meet requirements. But yes, we all have the same requirements, or we have to put in a waiver to be able to say, we can't do it, and this is why, and this is how we're gonna correct it.
I have one edit to this, just on January 1st, it's not marked as a holiday.
And we didn't do that because, for our teaching staff, it is not a holiday.
Okay.
It's not counted as a holiday, and so the other thing, right, so the other thing that we thought about in the calendar, if you see it, a lot of it's just blue. We thought if we just put a blue day, and people know that there's no school on that day, then we're not, confusing people, we're confusing our staff to say, well, is it a holiday, or is it a non-contract day, or what is it? In the rendition that would go to families, anything, well, I guess we did that on, Labor Day, it's in there, so,
Certified licensed staff have 6 holidays, and those are the ones that they choose in blue. And,
right, when I look at
New
this,
Year's, Christmas, those are not, they're just unpaid, those are just paid off.
well, when I'm looking at my one here. Okay, yeah, that was where we put that, but if we're talking about this being the family version can have an 8 in that spot.
Okay, I mean, it doesn't need to.
Yeah.
It's winter break, I just didn't realize that it was non-considered. That makes sense, it's all about language.
Yep. And we've got, of course, Juneteenth is in negotiated agreements. If we ever have to look at going to school on June 19th, then that would become a holiday and we would extend out beyond that. If we don't go up to or through Juneteenth, it's not a holiday, so.
We better never be at school.
Now, close.
You wanna see me cry?
So the students get a 6-day break over Thanksgiving, correct? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Yes. And what we did was we put the end of the trimester on that Monday, so coming back from Thanksgiving, it's the end of the first trimester, and it gives, staff the opportunity to come back around and get their feet underneath them to start it. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I'm assuming that the count of days has been double or triple checked.
Oh, yeah, I think we've had everybody in the world count it.
I mean, I just counted it up and it works for me, but, I mean, assuming the numbers at the bottom of each month are correct.
This is my cheat sheet.
That's how many student days. That's how many student contact days within that month.
Oh, okay.
So if there's 9 students, but then you also have to add the holidays, and you also have to add the green days that are the teachers are there, but the students aren't, and then it all adds up.
Okay.
And then the ISD in-service, the 3 in-service days in August are also teacher days. So, yeah, all in that one month.
Yeah, we counted and double counted and triple counted and about every possible permutation we could come up with.
Dave, do you have any comment?
I've looked at it, but honestly, I haven't been Lily told me it was okay, and I've been transferred for 3 years, so.
Okay.
I think the only, I honestly didn't look at it to make sure that the in-service days line up with the contract, which is kind of my only main concern. The days are right, and it never has been a problem. We did have some conversation last year about, and I think that half day, if you make that first day a half day, there's your hours for smart schools, or safe schools.
Oh,
What we talked about last year.
Yeah, I mean, because we figured that could happen. We also know that there were a group of students that got dismissed early because everybody thought it was okay and they were done, before the end of the school day last year, which really wasn't okay. And so we started talking about it, and we've also got the issue on those early days when that first day is 2nd grade, 6th grade, and 9th grade. And we've always got the teachers at those grade levels saying, wait a minute, I gotta teach kids on that day, and other people don't have to. And some schools do their best to try and, shake it around a little bit so that there's coverage so like the 2nd grade teachers can get a break, and other people are covering. But with the single grade level, the thought was, let's make it doable. And,
first graders also?
Yeah.
first,
It's not kinder, right?
kinder and 1st grade, thank you, good question.
Yeah.
Kinder and 1st grade,
Because they're not listed on
They're
there.
not.
yeah, and we will set them out independently, thank you. Kinder and 1st grade, have assessment days with their kids on the 3rd and the 4th. So they, by appointment, will have, sessions with parents and kids to be able to meet them and to do some assessment, to be able to take a look at how they want to do classes, which is what they've done for the last couple of years.
I know that they've done that for kinder, I didn't realize they did that for
Yes,
first grade
and
as well.
then Thursday the 5th, half of the kids come, and for half a day, and on the Friday, half the kids come for half a day. And then they start fully on the 9th.
Oh, I thought that was one for kindergarten.
So-
That wasn't for me.
Yeah, so that's now kinder first. But thank you, we need to add that into the language to make sure that's known.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I move we accept the proposed, funds approved by county as presented in our packet.
I'll second.
Okay, been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Sandy?
Sorry. I'm making minutes.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Policy JECB-AR1, recommend delete.
JECB is our policy about admission of non-resident students that we changed 6 months ago, 5 months ago, something like that we changed the policy. The AR, the JECB AR, corresponds with the old policy. And so we want to just get rid of it, because it doesn't correspond with our new information.
Okay.
Will we be providing a new AR or is it
Yeah, we'll need to set something up, to be able to have a new AR, but for this one, we wanted to just say, let's get it off the table and start fresh.
Okay, I got a question on that right there. If the board doesn't have to approve ARs, do we have to approve the deleting of an AR?
No,
Okay.
you don't have to.
Okay, no, it was just
It's a
a
great
personal question that I
That's a
wanted.
great question.
So, well, let's just go ahead. I'll take a motion that we delete this. We'll just do it this way for this time.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, been moved and seconded. Did you get the second?
No, was it
Joe.
Joe? Okay, thank you.
All right, all those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Inter-district transfer allowances.
So this is policy JECB, and what we said is that we would look at available inter-district transfer slots. And we could adjust those throughout the year as need would allow. So up until this point in this year, we have been taking any student that comes our way. And what we are proposing, and what we would like to ask, is that at least temporarily, for the next month or two, that we shut that off, and that there's no space available for inter-district transfers right now. So that means that we're not taking in, you could say, well, you just want to do that, so you're not taking in special ed students, but we're also not taking in the talented and gifted 4-point sport athlete, choir member, etc. student. And what we want to do is really get a handle on who do we have as we look forward to next year to be able to predict our class schedule for when we have open enrollment and how many students we accept. We don't want to over-accept and be caught not being able to serve our own students. And so we just want to take a pause and are asking the board to approve the zeros, even if we only keep them there for a month or two, for now, just to be able to make sure that we have our ducks in a row and we've got some rhythm sorted out with our new income and increase. We also have, real honestly, we're back to where we were with the additional students. We've got some teachers that are saying, don't give me one more. Don't give, which is not said maliciously, and I don't care, but it's just about, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, the next step.
And so the idea was to say, let's just put a pause and be able to make sure we have our whole system in place and then be able to continue to move forward. So that's why we want to bring this one forward, because we are unique this year in that we are up in our number of students. So I think I figured our enrollment has grown by 68 students since 22-23. And so we want to be able to take a look at how many of those are ours, how many of those are our long-standing inter-district transfers, how many of those are new inter-district transfers, and where do things stand so that we can do a good job of them.
On taking a pause, will that affect somebody moving into, if somebody physically, family moves here, that's not?
If they are a resident of the Florida School District, they will be able to enroll.
Okay.
Doesn't
So if we put a pause,
say.
somebody moves in town, they can still.
Right, it would just be if we've got a student from Albany or Alcee or Monroe that wants to come this direction, we're just saying not right now.
And it won't affect the ones, the families of Florida residents that currently don't go to Florida schools.
No.
Okay.
And the students that are already have already been granted the inter-district transfer agreement and are in our schools from those other districts, they will continue to be able to stay, and we'll take them out. It's just saying, for right now, we're gonna put a pause on anybody we need.
One question, on the second, the last column where it says suggested number of transfers to allow out, and at the bottom is 20. What does that mean?
I just put a random number in there.
Oh.
In case students do want to transfer out, which is unlikely, then they can. That can be changed though.
Well, if somebody wants to transfer out, we can't stop them.
Yes.
Yeah, there are certain things that we can do.
Really?
Yeah. The biggest thing that is for those students who want to go to an online school, that if we are above 3% of student numbers and transfer to those types of schools, we can deny it.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I mean, there's not much we can deny for,
Okay,
but there are some things that we can.
gotcha. Okay, thank you.
I have a question on that too. Do we get these requests, the inter-district requests, often through, like, during mid-year parts of the year? Or is it normally something that is happening prior to the beginning of the year?
It's normally at the beginning of the school year, winter break.
Oh,
the end of February, early March, when people are fed up with, I mean, just be candid with some of the things that are happening in schools,
Sure.
and they're looking for something different to start over.
Okay,
And so it's kind of like, those are the pockets where we see.
okay,
And so the other reason for this request was to say, let's hold it and see what kind of requests we may get. I mean, if we get them, we'll hold them. We won't do anything with them.
right,
But it's just a way of being able to provide us with information.
sure, absolutely, okay,
Great work.
thank you.
So you need board permission to hold on.
Yeah, our new policy said that the board would approve the numbers if we chose to change those at any point in time.
I would move that we do this without a discussion, but it's very disruptive to have new students come in midway through. At least I assume it would be disruptive as a teacher and classmates to have a new person.
It happens all the time, but, yes.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard on the students also.
Yeah, absolutely.
I moved a lot as a kid. I was the new kid roughly 15 times in my education, and it's really hard for a kid. So,
Okay, so I got a motion, I'll hear a second. And
I have a request for modification, if that's possible, to just strike that suggested number of transfers to allow alcohol entirely, because I don't think we have to include that, do we? You're the policy. Just in case we decide we're gonna let 21 people leave the district this month, that way we don't have to call a new vote.
An unlimited number.
Yeah, just remove the column for transfers out. 'Cause I don't think the policy requires us to include that in the numbers. I don't wanna tie it. So what if when two of our big families end up transferring out their kids? That could be 30 to 40 kids. Sorry. I'm just joking. I have 4 kids, that's the joke people make with me. But if you wanna leave it as is, that's fine. Just a request. Acknowledgement.
Brian, you made a motion, you want to leave it the way it is? Well, I think 20 is probably sufficient.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Inclement weather vacancies.
This was the one when we changed the agenda, I split into 2 pieces. And I think I'd like to do the instructional minutes first and the inclement weather makeup days second, if that works. And I'll make sure I
And I accidentally printed 2 copies of that section of the packet, and anybody would like a printed copy. Because I found it a little hard to read digitally.
It's coming up sideways in my iPad, but I can get it. For mine,
Change your mind, it's right here.
Well, I can just click on mine and rotate it.
That's what I did too. There's a little,
it must be a way to do it.
little arrow at the top.
I just rotate circle.
I just doesn't have that.
So when you're asked about instructional minutes, the state puts out information that says, here are the required instructional time that students must be in school. So for grade 12, we're looking at 966 hours. For grades 9 through 11, we're looking at 990 hours, and for grades K-8, we're looking at 900 hours. So if you look at the information, there we go. That is in, what I did was I took in this, the 24-25 calendar that we just approved, and took a look at the number of instructional minutes in a day. Now, instructional minutes and a day of school really are, in my mind, two different things. In that, when the state says it's instructional minutes, you cannot count passing time, you cannot count advisor time, you can't count recess. I mean, so there's certain things that we can't include in that count as what the state calls instructional time. And so what I did with that was took out any of those times that made a difference. So you'll see in the asterisk column, instructional hours, the one before it, you'll see the instructional hours. And so you'll see that elementary is supposed to be at 900 hours, and we're just below in a number of those places. However, there's the caveat that I wanted to go back to that was approved when we started early release days, which has been a long time, but wanted to be able to make sure that we could understand together. So if you look at the second page of the OAR 581, number 6 says, upon approval by the local school board, a district may include in its calculation of instructional time required by subsection 1, A, for kindergarten programs offering 900 hours or more of instructional time, up to 60 hours for recess. If a kindergarten program is offering less than 900 hours of instructional time, you can count up to 30 hours towards recess. For grades 1 to 3, up to 60 hours can be included for recess, up to 30 hours for staff professional development, and up to 30 hours for parent-teacher conferences. And so when you look at the chart that I put in there, and it's going to go upside down. The asterisk column adds in those minutes that are allowable with board approval. And so you will see that we jump from with the Blodgett Kinder 893.9 to 938.9. So I put that in there to say, in that agreement, we meet instructional hours in terms of the state's requirement. And so at every level, I wanted to put that in there so that we can see that's where we are, but also to know that conferences, professional learning, and recess have been agreed to years ago to be able to be included in that total. So that's how we get the instructional minutes. What I did off to the other side was I put in the total student instructional day, which says from the time you start when you walk in the door in the morning until the time you leave, how long are students in your school? And I did that because we can have some of our best educational moments with students walking down the hallway in passing time that the state says we can't include in instructional time. We can have some of our best interactions in an advisory program at the middle school or the high school where you really get a chance to make a difference that the state says we can't count as instructional time. So we wanted to be able to put that in, really to be able to acknowledge we've got a state requirement to meet for Division 22, with which the caveats that the state allows, we are meeting that. But if you look at a total instructional day, which you'll see they're much closer together across the board, we are talking about comparable opportunities across the board for every student in our district to be able to interact with adults and peers for a full educational experience. The differences you'll see, for instance, from Blodgett Kinder to Blodgett 1st through 4th grade is simply because the Kinders at Blodgett have a half day extra at school because they start that first day when 1st through 4th graders aren't there. That's the only difference. Everything else is the same. So we hadn't talked about it in a long time, And so that's why I wanted to be able to bring this forward, to be able to say, because also I wanted to say that the days that we have for early release, for our conference days and those kinds of things, are we needing instructional minutes in the way that we need to? So that's why I wanted to bring it forward here, to be able to put it out there. You'll see Fulham Academy, and Fulham Academy is a different beast altogether. And Fulham Academy is predicated on an alternative education program that typically looks at student groupings as an intermediate group, which means a group of 6 to 15 students with an educator, and 22 and a half hours a week is considered full-time. And so when you see the example schedule that I put in there, you can see how that's calculated to be able to take a look at numbers of hours in a week that students are on-site, off-site, group size, all those kinds of things. And so because it's a different way to figure it out, it's almost like we figure instructional hours and time based on individual students at that point to be able to make sure we've got full program. That's why they look different in terms of the way that they are set up.
And I always thought it was hard to keep truck driving hours. Makes my work look really simple.
This was one of those, I think I need a minute to nerd out on the data. And it was really about somebody had asked me from another district, they said, are you sure you're getting enough instructional minutes? Because you've got early release and all those kinds of things, and I thought, okay, I better go back and take a look at it. And like I said, I did it based on the 24, 25 days as you just approved, to be able to know that we were talking about the days that were half days, full days, all those kinds of things, to be able to come up with that. And so just wanted to, I mean, there's no vote within that, but wanted to be able to bring it back as something that when this district went to early release was approved to be able to count those additional elements for instructional hours. And it's not, we're not unique in that. I would guess that probably a majority of districts are doing, they're in the same boat with us in terms of being able to count that as a time.
I think we're mostly aware that instructional minutes and instructional hours, like you mentioned, passing time, things like that, but there are also clubs that are very educational in nature that meet during lunch or meet just right after school that are going to count in those hours that are, and obviously not serving every single student, but a lot of students are having those experiences. There are a lot of classrooms that are open during lunch where the conversations are very educational, or teachers who give lovingly of their time after school for kids to come and like share something cool that they learned in another class that they're really passionate about. That happened this week in our household, which is super exciting. So I think this flexibility is really important to have. Sometimes the formal doesn't cover it.
Right, but I wanted to put it out there to be able to make sure that we were meeting our Division 22 standards, because we need to be able to do that. But also to be able to explain how it's calculated, because we haven't talked about it. To be able to know where we are in terms of periods, so.
Okay.
The other part of that, the state board did approve up to 14 hours of, what's the word I'm looking for, relief from inclement weather days. And so we made up one, and we've still got 2 out there on the books. We have a May date that is still holding on the calendar as a makeup date, because we didn't want to make any changes to any of that until the board made a determination. And so we put bringing it back to vote on what happens with those 2 days, to be able to say if the board's ready to make a decision, great, and if the board's not ready to make a decision on those other 2, then we'll move it into our next meeting to be able to take care of that.
It's interesting that it happens to be snowing today.
Oh, I know.
My thought is to wait till the March meeting to make a final decision. Because of the end of February, beginning of March, can be so hit and miss. for
Second winter.
Yeah,
Flowers
The
bloom,
next meeting.
they're dead.
Yep,
Right.
Extremely unlikely we will have inclement weather days after those.
Okay, so we'll move number 4 to the March meeting.
At least that's my.
and that's fine, we just wanted to be able to make sure that we didn't lose it in, the fray of everything else.
So then you would like us to vote on what became number 5, the instructional minutes calculation?
No, there's no need
You don't need us to vote to
to,
reaffirm?
no, it was,
That's just.
That was just information.
it was really information, I mean, if, there's no need for a vote.
Because it's been approved before.
Right, but if the board were to say, what in the world are you doing? Then that's what I would want to know is, what's the homework we need to do to be able to adjust and do anything differently?
Okay.
And so that was the reason that I wanted to bring it back. To just say, what somebody asked me, they said, well, when did your board approve it? And I said, when we started having early release days, I'm sure, that's when it was. It was really about bringing it back so people knew.
And the board did approve it then? You went back and checked?
I haven't gone back that far.
It was there.
The board approved it?
Good, I'm glad somebody knows that.
Oh, there you go. Rick was there too. Okay.
Good.
Not that this has changed anything, just asking for clarity. If we were to have full day Fridays, that means we could potentially be out of school 3 weeks earlier.
Possibility. We still have to meet the requirement for professional learning days as part of the collective bargaining agreement, but we could do them full days or.
I need labor sooner, we should start earlier, so we can get some work.
Yeah, we've got a group of people in our scheduling committee that really want to start before Labor Day, and another group that says, not in this lifetime, will I want to do that. So that's really one of the.
Hot in some of the buildings when you start that early.
Yeah, school May 15th. School's over May 15th.
Starts again September 15th.
Yes.
That makes it too intense for me, especially.
And we'll school for long periods of time.
All right, let's keep moving along here. The approval of the LBL PSD local service plan.
Yeah, this is something that we are asked to approve every 2 years. And it's been approved by LBL's board, and it really is about what are the services that will continue to be provided, in their tier 1 and tier 2, services. And so, and it goes by every district and what people have had access to, what their services are, who their key people are, what their performance goals are. In this setup for these next 2 years, not much has changed. Of course, the biggest change has been the implementation of Synergy as the new the new student information system. And the other piece of it that is not represented in here, because we've just started conversations about it, has to do with regional program services. And that is the amount of money that has continued to decline for those high-class disability students. And with the money declining, how do we stretch it and make it go as far as we need to? So there's conversation at a superintendent level that says, might we just want to stay the course as things are going right now? Might we want to put some of that service and support into Tier 1, which are Tier 1 services, everybody participates. Or put it into Tier 2 where people could buy it if they wanted to. But it's so recent in terms of the conversation that we're wanting to, as a collective, make the right decision instead of a fast decision. So that would be the one thing that I could see potentially amended within the context of the plan. But there really have been no big changes since our last biennium in terms of the plan they approved. They approve it as their board. They ask each of the 12 school districts that are affiliated to approve the local service plan as what we talked about in terms of service and how we move forward. So it's the formality of being able to make sure that we're in with our,
So nothing in your mind that would make us want to not do this?
no.
Isn't there something for state legislation right now to increase funding for the higher cost?
There is some, and the question is what's gonna happen with that. So that's kind of, why we're in limbo. The costs have significantly reduced over time, and there's conversation about, a strong uptick in identification of students with autism. And so it's how much money are we spending, across the board for direct service to students with autism that takes away from deaf and hard of hearing, blind, brain injury, any of those kinds of things. And so it's just how do you stretch the dollar in order to be able to make it work. So really right now it's a listening thing until there's a determination of will there be more money put into it or not, and what they go.
I have a question.
Sure.
Just because it's all new to me. So, all the surrounding, it looks to me like all the surrounding districts are supported by them.
Yep.
And so, I assume we pay for that support. Do we have a contract with them that we pay them?
Actually, a lot, do you want to take a stab at it before I do? Because I think I'll butcher it.
So all ESDs get a portion of state school funding.
Okay.
They get, a certain percentage gets directed to the ESDs. And so they use that funding to support themselves. And they also collect grant fundings. We don't actually pay a fee to the LBL unless we select services in the tier 2 section beyond what our allocation is. They divide up based on enrollment across the districts in the ESD, who gets what services under the tier 2 plan. Tier 1 services are the big services and everybody gets those.
Yeah.
Tier 2 are what we've said in the past, are like all the cart services you can select. They have the support people to do that. And if we go above and beyond, then we pay them back. But other than that, we don't pay a fee to the ESD.
Okay. And they're the ones that switched to the whole synergy.
Yeah, whenever they make decisions for, especially their tier 1 services, it has to be, if I can make this right, at least a third of the, I think it's at least half the districts representing a majority of the student population. So it can't be that the big kids can all vote and it automatically becomes a win. There's got to be a preponderance of the evidence, but the decisions of their services are really determined by the regional school districts and what's needed.
So are they the ones that were supposed to train and support switching over to synergy?
Yes, they are the ones that we're supposed to, that have been involved and it's been really shaky. A couple of the things that we've learned, the training piece of it, much of it was over the summer, and the summer was just too difficult to be able to make a lot of those things happen, so hindsight is great.
Them training us or them receiving?
Them training us. The other piece of the puzzle that I just learned within the last month or so is it is being implemented in tiers. So when we have people right now that look at Salem Kaiser's instance of synergy, Salem Kaiser's been in synergy for 10 or 12 years now. And so they have implemented all components. We implemented this many components this year and we're going to do this many next year. So we're not starting just like the Salem Kaiser.
Right.
That was my big aha in terms of this year. So we're all learning together and being able to do that. It's a big lift for everybody.
So it sounds like there's no opting out of synergy, it's just part of the package.
If we opted out of synergy, we have to still pay for it. It would still be part of our funds that would support synergy. A number
And then we paid for whatever other.
Right, a number of years ago, we, as a district, went to Power School. And we were still paying out of tier one our allocation for the LDL student information system and paying additional on our own funds to be able to have Power School. The same thing would be true if we looked at that now, where we would still be, our allocation for synergy would just go there. And whatever we selected, we would have to pay for over and above, out of our general funding, or some way,
Right,
in terms of being able to do it.
okay.
The other thing that was a determination too within that is not always the best known, because one of the things was, do we stay with the existing student information system that LDL had created in-house, which is what we've been using, or do we move to something different? The piece of the puzzle that was missing is LDL's getting a lot of people that are retiring that know the old code. And so even if they were to keep their own student information system, it would have to be dismantled and rewritten in new code. So that really became a non-option for us moving forward. So it was kind of about, we gotta pick something and move. And so the idea of picking something that was pretty widely used in the state of Oregon seems to make sense. But there's no doubt there are hiccups,
Right.
definitely along the way.
Yeah, I've heard that there's many frustrations and untold numbers of hours of having to repeat data that got somehow lost in cyberspace. And so hopefully we can expect more support as we implement more layers.
Right, and that's what we're looking at. The other thing that we are doing also internally is taking a look at what is our process. Excuse me. To be able to look at consistent implementation of synergy. So for instance, we've got another district among us that they have a group of people that meet internally monthly. And they're constantly in touch with each other about what's new and what they need to know. And that seems to be an appropriate model that I would like us to begin to look at, so that we're not putting the lion's share of the load on one or two people, to be able to make sure training information goes out and things like that. So we've got our work to do, and they recognize that they do as well.
Okay,
Great question.
thank you.
All right. So we need a motion for,
Please.
right, need a motion.
I will move that we approve the LBL local service plan for 23 to 25 as presented in our packet.
I guess I'll second.
Okay. Well, you wouldn't have to, Sandy, could you? So, okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the LBL ESD service plan as presented in the board packet. All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Moving on, resolution 232403.
This is just one of the funding approvals.
Right.
Any discussion needed, Jennifer?
Only if you have questions.
I will get some shit. I also move that we approve 2324-03 resolution.
Second.
I will second that.
Okay, been moved and seconded. No discussion, all those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Number 7, resolution 232404.
The other one.
Yep, the other one.
It's the urban literacy grant and student investment grant applications.
Anybody want to move that we approve this one?
I move that we approve resolution number 2324-04, as presented in our packet.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Approval of alternative education program.
Thank you. This is an annual approval that we need to designating the Fall Academy as an alternative education program within our district. Excuse me. And what's asked of us is to be able to submit what are the standards that are being looked for, are we in compliance, and what are the explanations or evidence? And so we put in the policy references. This is actually exactly the same as it was last year. And nothing has changed with that. It's just that we need to bring it forward annually for specific approval.
Do I hear a motion?
Okay, we can have discussion after the motion.
Yeah.
I'll move to approve the alternate education program.
Okay, second?
I will second that.
Okay, then move to second, we have further discussion.
Yes. So on the columns where we don't show a C for being in compliance, does that mean we're not compliant? Like the private alternative program, the public alternative program complies with all state statutes and rules and federal laws that apply to public schools. We don't have a C in that column.
We are not a private program. We've checked up at the top that we are a public program.
Oh,
So it
thank
should
you,
say,
And so
should it say NA?
it could say NA in there,
Gotcha.
but yeah, that's the reason that that one's not filled in.
Okay,
And
thank
then
you.
there's another one.
There's another one. The program assists the district in meeting its comprehensive K-12 instructional program. That one doesn't have a C either
Oh,
for compliant.
that should have C in it.
Okay.
So we're compliant there? I think those were the one, oh no, there's one. Oh, yes.
That's a continuation.
Yes, that's a continuation. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Look at this. In which case,
Then we
with modification?
yeah, with the state, with modification, I again make a motion to approve the alternative education program plan.
So that was on page one, and put a C in that column.
Yeah, adding NA.
Adding NA in the private program and putting the C in the,
Seven.
meeting the comprehensive K-12 instruction.
Yeah, okay. All right. With that modification, all those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Now we'll go to the student representative, and that will be Aaron.
Yes, so, we have an amazing student representative who's been with us all year this year, who, coincidentally, happily, is a junior in high school and not a senior in high school. I wanted to open for discussion the idea of potentially extending to a second year of service, and when we bring a new student rep on, it would be like a learning year. So hopefully they would be sophomore or junior. But I also, and I know this is a little bit outside of the norm, would like to hear from Mr. Dunham, since he is the person who helped with that whole process last year, getting the vote out, getting a lot of the work done, and the people on the board last year who did that on the board this year, so I feel a little bit in the help me phase of it.
So, it's a best way to get.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I asked, sorry, that's a great question, yes, I asked
You better ask me before you
earlier.
volunteer me for a second year.
No, for it.
board meeting.
Touche.
And we don't have to vote on this today either, we could, but I just wanted to raise it.
As an outgoing leadership advisor, one of the things that I would suggest would be to, honestly, I know I'm ready to be in there, but I think it's a really amazing opportunity for our students, and I would be interested in opening it up to people who are interested, and possibly culling the group down, and not, if we had more than one, culling it down for a vote to a smaller group of people who really expressed genuine interest and commitment.
Okay.
I mean, the thing that makes me want to just keep writing her, she makes it to every meeting, and I
Yes.
think there's something to say for that. But I think it's a really cool opportunity, and I would hate to tie it up for maybe a sophomore or junior who might really be interested. And I don't know if that person exists or not, to be honest with you. I don't know if that person is in that leadership group right now, but Reagan wasn't in my leadership group when she came.
I'm trying to talk my kid into doing it, but I'm like.
I would just think
One
that
of the
maybe we could open it up, advertise it and open it up till when the spring break cutoff.
Okay.
And we come back from spring break and we see who we've got. And then we can probably report back at the March meeting and just, I would like to include it as part of my report in the March meeting to say where we're at as far as whether people have.
I mean, I'd love to have Reagan continue on, but I also like that idea. At least give the opportunity for somebody else that might be really chomping at the bit to do this. There may, like you say, there may be nobody that's chomping at the bit.
Is there any help needed from the board for that process? Or now that we've done it twice, is it a little?
I mean, I think that the most important thing would be maybe to have Reagan advertise their applications. And be able to talk to interested people about it. And I think we could put something like that into announcements or something.
And you can run again.
Well, the board could also decide what they want in mentorship, connection as well.
And, yeah, let's think about that too, once the decision is made, could the incoming mentor with Reagan for the rest of the year, and then take over in the fall,
That was the hope.
right?
We could get a page for each of you, just like competition.
Well, one of the things we discussed when we were trying to formulate how to do this was having a 2-year term offset by a year. So there was always someone who'd already been doing it for a year when the new student rep came on. And then I don't think we were able to figure out how to make that happen easily. But
Unless you make it a
because
great.
we have to say you have to.
Unless you make it a great level
preference
thing, then you've got, and that's an issue. And,
Yeah.
I'd like to throw it out to the student body and see, look at it, see how it goes this year, and then move it forward.
Okay.
So,
Well, we need to do that then. I'll volunteer myself to be a contact for you if you do need board support.
I will,
But I also
put
would love
those
it
wheels
if
in
you
motion
did.
on Tuesday. I'm not gonna do it on Friday now, so somebody watches those, but, Tuesday.
Okay.
I'm out Monday, so Tuesday I'll be back.
Thank you.
Did you guys have an application from last year? I don't remember.
There was an
Somebody has
application
to file,
form
they
you
can
fill
share with
out.
me or email me.
Did you have that on file, or?
I don't know if I have it.
I can reach
I don't
out
think
to
I was
Christopher.
involved.
I mentioned Christopher has a copy of it as well.
Yeah.
I'll take that action item to reach out to Christopher to get it. He's probably watching from home right now. He's probably emailed it to me already. Hi, Chris.
Well, just put my 2 cents worth in, I agree with David, opening it up. You know, Ray can certainly apply if she wants to, but just to give other kids an opportunity if they're interested.
I'm just happy to get this moving forward, because I think it's been really just neat to have a student here who, we don't always have a lot of exciting stuff to talk about with you, but it's just really nice to have that presence.
Absolutely.
That way, if we do have like a weird question, like, does that make sense for high school? Like, no,
That's
you're
great.
nervous. All right.
Okay. Moving ahead to meeting closure, next meeting agenda items. Anybody have an agenda item that's been on next meeting?
I do, on this agenda, I want a board request, that's kind of a crossover. I'd like to have a representative from, say, 2 different schools at a time, come, 5 minutes the most, no charts, no graphs, no statistics, just say, hey, here's 5 cool things happening at our school, here's 5 things we're working on, here's some upcoming events. Just so that there's some school engagement, we know what's going on in schools.
Are you talking an admin from From one of the schools?
Yeah.
Okay.
What are the schools, an admin,
Or a
they send a rep or something.
Well, yeah, somebody that,
Somebody
either
from,
an admin or their appointed person.
somebody from the school just comes, and I'm thinking if we limited it to 5 minutes per, if there's 2 schools at a time, so they're gonna come back like in 3 months. And they can say what they're working on to start with, they can give us an update, just something to get information about the schools. But like last time when Mr. Beasley presented, he had all these nice charts all this time, don't need that. We get enough charts and paperwork, right? I want somebody to say, here's what's happening, here's what we're working on, here's what's going good, here's something cool that happened.
We don't want to add to their workload, so
Yes.
just come in.
So just a casual 5 minutes.
And then they can go if they want.
Yeah.
And
Well, we used to have admins at the meeting, and then they would make short presentations.
just have them.
We need to bring it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to bring it
I
back.
talked to Mr. Beasley, I talked to, middle school,
Mr. Bell?
yes, both of them said that they're not interested in a big long presentation, which is not either, I'm just thinking,
Well, just my update of what's going on in the.
And it could even be zoomed in. I mean, it'd be nice if they were here, but
And that would just help us feel connected, I think, more connected. Because right now, there's still so much isolation. But, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And then we'll need to have probably strategy and discussion and action around student rep at the next meeting also.
Okay.
Oh wait, the April meeting, not the next meeting.
No,
We have a
the
deadline,
spring
spring break
after.
application.
Yes.
So but
Yeah.
let's speak it into the universe in the hope that we all remember when it comes to the program.
and we'll potentially be able to give a decision.
Weather days.
Right.
It's March, yeah.
one of the things that goes somewhere in this way out there, you're looking at the city of Florida partnering with the school or something as like a community-wide auditorium. Like we came to the gallery night here the other day, and there was so much, so tight, so much happening, we couldn't hear any of the kids. As you came in, you're right next to a kid trying to hear them present. They obviously worked hard on their presentations, but it was it was hard to deal with. If somewhere down the road, if there's a grant money with the city, just have a community-wide place, like the elementary school doesn't have a good, they do these plays and things, and it's not a good sound system. So somewhere in the future, if that was ever something that grants, partnerships.
Back when we were doing the remodel for the high school, you know, I mean, it was proposed and then it got patched because of the cost.
So pretty.
You got value engineered out.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that word for a while.
Yeah.
I think the city owns the frog grounds now, maybe there might be some partnership that there's grant money for a community center on public property.
Problem is, it's gonna be millions of dollars, so it's gonna be.
Oh, yeah.
It would be
But
hard to.
it would be
get off the
fun,
ground.
it would be fun to have a community
And I wasn't
center.
thinking school funded, it's whether there's.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm just saying,
grants to come together, the community.
somehow could get a community section of it.
Right, and maybe the
That's an
city
idea to
would,
incubate and see what
Right.
happens. I think
Right.
there's value to that. Sometimes we just say stuff and then somebody has a solution, like that. I'm never gonna forget the covered area for Clemens.
Yeah, there's
Just
something
somebody
watch
throwing
out.
it out in the meeting and then they had a covered area like a week later or less
Not
than a week
even,
later, so.
yeah.
I
All right.
think there's, yeah.
So if we're done with the next meeting agenda items, going to board thanks.
I have some. I was lucky enough to go to the district-wide band concert, and it was fantastic, and I loved it. The fifth grade band is small and very mighty, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. So I just want to thank all of the school staff members who were involved in making that happen, and the parent volunteers who I know come to the music classrooms and help out, drive their kids to school probably at like 6:45 in the morning, so I'm pretty sure band is before school still over here. And then all of the students for dedication and practicing, and their siblings and parents for listening to that at home. And then, I don't know, I have a senior student this year, so I'm very well aware of how hard the high school counselors work, especially this time of year, to help those seniors figure out how to fill out paperwork and make it to college and You may have heard that the FAFSA is not going very well this year, so I'm sure that they have students who are really freaking out. So I just wanted to thank them for their dedication and time and ability to de-escalate stress with our seniors as that's happening. I also wanted to mention, and I wrapped on my shirt, today is the last day, well actually officially tomorrow's the last day of Black History Month, and this year it was a celebration of art. So as an art lover, go look up some really cool art and see what's out there. And that's it for me. Why like Career Day at Malone Middle School was so much fun. I was a career speaker. It's the 4th or 5th time I've done it. I still get emails from students who attended my presentations in the past. I have somebody who's trying to job shadow me now who did it. It had to have been 7 or 8 years ago because she's a senior in college now and she took that career path, and I just think there's so much value for the students, but also it's great to see so many different careers represented. Like I was thinking maybe I should work in fish and wildlife now. Like that was, I want to go wade through rivers and count fish. Like, so I just think it's such an amazing thing. And I think it's kind of unique to our area to do it in middle school. So kudos and thanks to the volunteers and planners for that, because I know that was a huge undertaking.
Big deal.
There were a couple of parents, right? With most of the community members that were spearheaded all that.
Yeah, and I think it may have been like parent volunteers, but also staff members like brought food to feed all of the career day presenters. Like they put out a spread, somebody made s'mores cookies, and I need to find out because I need. But yeah, it's an invigorating, exciting, exhausting, and terrifying day, and I love it every time I get to do it.
You could hit it with general. That's where I was gonna go.
I, every month, have things for our admin, our district office staff, our teachers, our classified. You know, the work they do is beyond. And I know they go beyond an 8-to-5 job, every one of them. And I just want to thank everybody in the district for working so hard for our kids. You know, we might not always agree, but we all need to be on the same team, and I think that we are. I hope that we are. Yeah, I appreciate everybody.
Actually, I would also point out, as well as general, thanks to everybody, that this time of year especially, maintenance and grounds crew having to work in this kind of weather, when they're having to do stuff outside, I feel for them.
Yeah.
Well, like normal, thanks to everybody in the district, because it takes everybody to run this district. It's not gonna ever run without one segment or the other. It's all gotta work together, so. And then special thanks to all the winter sports that were so successful, through this year. And then I also wanna thank, gotta be on the right page here. The Clemens Foundation for everything that they've done through the many years that they've been involved with the district. I know my family's benefited from it in the past. It's sad that it is coming to an end, but, you know, with partially. Well, yeah, but I meant the general.
As we know,
part of it.
yeah.
And as it was
we know.
years ago, it is coming to an end. But I am glad that they are supporting the tech and the trade schools and that type of thing, still helping out with that. That's a huge thing in my mind is, you know, we gotta have those people to make this world go around. But yeah, a huge thanks to those people that have been involved in that for so many years and helping the students, not only in Florida, but the other districts that are involved with the Clemens Foundation. So. Just have to think, Jennifer, what's the status of the Clemens primary Covers their play area.
Scheduled to begin right as school gets out, as far as I know.
Okay, was it, so it was awarded and everything?
Yep, we awarded the contract that's been signed, just knowing that they were gonna take this time to prepare and order materials and get ready to go.
Okay, cool, because I don't remember hearing.
I'm not sure you were here. Oh,
Huh?
I'm not sure you were here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because we voted on it.
Well, I know we voted to approve it, but I didn't hear anything about, when the start date or anything was, so.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, that's fine.
Plan to start right after school's out.
Yeah,
Cool.
we
Okay.
done before school starts.
Any more board things? How about board requests?
I have one.
Yep.
I would like to request, and we touched on it, that we have more informal board with, well, Joe said it, town hall type.
Yeah, like we used to do coffee with the board and that type of thing?
Yes, yes, if people are receptive to it. I don't know what the value of it would be to people, but I think it'd be very valuable, and I just think we need to work on that, and also maybe more work sessions as a board. Even though we've been in it now, 7 months, Brian and I are still deer in the headlights. There's so much information that we don't know anything about, but we never have a forum in which we can gather that kind of information from you guys. And we need more work sessions maybe or something. I want to do something where we can meet as a board to get that, but also have, if there's an interest, have a town hall where people can come in and chat. I'm not talking about problem solving, I'm talking about chat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just an informal conversation.
absolutely. Just like, kind of like the listening sessions we've done at the schools, only on a bigger scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that goes to public input as well, community input on school. This is our typical people who come to the school board meeting. There's no, so if it was not a formal meeting, just like it's the library or whatever, just the public come in and just gather some information.
Totally, agreed.
That's the maximum of 2 board members in a situation like that, but it can't be 3 or more, because it's official.
There can be, as long as we advertise. And but we're not there to make a decision, it's a cordial work session, it's not to vote on anything. It's just like we used to do, coffee with the board down at Nut Cakes when they were open. It was on a Saturday, it was posted, we didn't know how many board members were gonna show up for Monday.
Okay, so as long as it's advertised.
As long as it's posted, yes.
And also we have to do minutes for it, and we also have to record it.
Yeah.
Because it's a public meeting at that point.
Along those same lines, we have that whole list of all the liaison roles that we have.
Yeah.
I guess I'd like some more input, like on what information we should gather, like what we should do there.
Okay.
Because like if we go to the Rotary or something, we have information that we can take from here, but it's also information that is already presented. They could have watched it, I don't know what information or what we're supposed to bring back.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not clear on that either, like what would make it a valuable exchange? Everything chamber does, because we're both on chamber, I think. Yes, we can go to their luncheons and introduce ourselves, but they have an agenda, they know what they're doing, and I don't know what we could do to enhance their luncheon.
We could go and advertise a listening session somewhere.
No, yes, we could do that. Right. We could.
Okay.
Another request would be just based on, the OSBA posts a workbook for superintendent evaluations. One of the things it mentions is having, at least once a quarter work session, during executive session that would allow conversation, discussion of that. So I'm hoping that maybe we can get that set in the calendar. It would start from my math, June, and then every 3 months after that. So if we had it set in the calendar to start, then we would just know that it's something that we're doing. That's my request.
That's mine.
Hearing nothing else. We will adjourn this meeting. And we will reopen executive session for a short meeting.
Yes, thank you. Thank you guys for sticking it out.
Yeah, we're out here.
I was kind of shocked my kids. It's a hard sell. That's like my next story.
Actually, your whole outfit is my high school year.
It's like you didn't have anything better to do tonight.
Even a green jacket with that.